Hello, I'm Dr. Arthur D. Kemp, Hammond Doc. I have a Leslie 122 amplifier on my desk. In this video, I'm going to evaluate the cathode bypass capacitor. Now that cathode bypass capacitor is very important in the Leslie amplifier. I've done a video on the cathode and the cathode capacitor in the past, so go back and take a look at that video. But just in short, if your cathode bypass capacitor is not functioning as it should, then you will have too much electricity, too much voltage running through your audio output tubes, and so you burn up your 6550 tubes. And a pair of nice 6550 tubes like the tongue soles are expensive. I mean, you could pay $100 for a pair of brand new tongue sole tubes, and so you don't want to burn those tubes up because you have a malfunctioning cathode bypass capacitor. So it's essential when rebuilding your amplifier that you evaluate the integrity of your cathode bypass capacitor and determine whether or not it needs to be replaced. Let's take a look at the cathode bypass capacitor in this amp, and I'll show you how to evaluate it. Now my finger is sitting right here on the cathode bypass capacitor. This is it. This cathode capacitor is rated at, should be rated at 200 microfarads at 50 volts DC. And the replacement for that would be a 220 microfarad capacitor, this one here. This is the replacement for that. And when I want to boost the bass, I'll even throw in one of these. This is a 50. This is a 50 volt 1000 microfarad cathode capacitor. Some say it boosts the bass, and others say that it does not. But anyway, here's how you check it. Now, because it's a capacitor and it is in the circuit, in order to test it, it has to be clipped. Out of the circuit for testing, which is what I just did. So, and then I have my fluke on here, and I have it set on capacitance, and I find that this fluke 189 is very accurate. How do I know it's accurate? Because I'll show you how I know. Here is a brand new capacitor. Look at the reading on the fluke. 220 microfarads, or 228 microfarads, 227 microfarads, and this is a 220 microfarad capacitor. So my fluke is able to read the capacitor rating of the capacitors, and so I trust it. Now watch this. Let's see what we get here. We get 223 microfarads, 223 microfarads. Now, this is a 200 microfarad capacitor. So, at 10% tolerance, that would be 220. So that would be above the 10% limit. But if we looked at it in terms of 20% tolerance, that would be 240, which would mean that this cathode bypass capacitor is within the 240 range, upper limit. That would be 20% upper limit. But in terms of its design, it's a 200 microfarad. At 10%, the upper limit would be 220. So this cathode capacitor is still operating within expected range. Okay. But higher than when it was new, because as I said, this is a 200 microfarad, so it's operating more like a 220 microfarad capacitor. So if I were to take that 220 microfarad capacitor and put it in there, I get the same kind of operation as I'm getting right now. So I'm not going to bother that cathode capacitor. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to connect it back together so that, and leave it in the unit, and then I'll replace, I will go ahead and evaluate these other capacitors. I've already evaluated one, found it to be bad, but I evaluate these others as well, and replace those that need to be replaced. Okay, so until the next video, this is Dr. Kemp, Hammond Doc, saying to you, have a peaceful day. Goodbye.